With a population of more than 1.4 billion and placed at the centre of global production and logistics, China's thirst for energy is immense. Between 2010 and 2021, China's power generation more than doubled, taking the share of global generation from 19% to 30%, at the expense of Europe and North America, whose shares fell around 5% to 19%. If this growth had been fueled by high emissions generation, it would have created a major problem for China's environment. Also, given what we know now about supply constraints and the likely price of coal, oil and gas over the coming decade, relying solely on these fuels may have restricted power capacity or made it prohibitively expensive for some sectors. For China, the green transition is as much about economic necessity as it is an environmental one. Although China has continued to add to its coal-fired capacity, power generation by the subsector has only grown at the margin in recent years, and Bloomberg estimates point to it beginning to decline during the second half of this decade. In stark contrast, China's solar power generation has grown more than 6 times and wind almost 3 times since 2015. In addition to providing efficient, stable and low-cost power generation for industry and households, China also intends to use their rapidly growing green energy capacity to power the adoption of electric vehicles. Helped by government incentives and Chinese EV makers being at the cutting edge of the industry, Chinese consumers are quickly transitioning to electric vehicles, with their take-up very similar to that of wealthy European nations, such as Germany and the UK, and a long way ahead of the US and other rapidly growing developing countries, such as India. Bloomberg's data points to EVs making up 85% of new vehicle sales in China by 2040, with 77% of the fleet electrified by that point. Compare that to the US, where 79% of new sales are expected to be electric by 2040, but only 57% of the nation's stock of vehicles. When we assess the implications of these developments for Chinese GDP, we must also factor in the export opportunities that the transition will bring to China. Being at the forefront of the development of production of goods related to electrification, such as batteries, it is not only domestic demand that Chinese firms will profit from, but also the globe's appetite. With strong logistic chains already in place, the opportunities related to electrification and the broader green transition are vast and long-lasting for China. On Bloomberg's projections from 2025, growth in Asia ex-China EV electricity demand is expected to rise from the equivalent of 6% of China's demand in 2021 to 10% in 2032 and 23% by 2040. An increase in EV energy demand 1.5 times that of Asia ex-China is also expected across the rest of the world, excluding North America, where the projected increase in EV energy demand is twice as large as Asia ex-China by itself. This last observation highlights a theme we will focus on more in the new year: the geopolitics of ESG. In a free trade environment, China has an immense opportunity to invest and benefit from the global green transition. If, however, they are impeded by trade or industry restrictions, their total addressable market may become a lot smaller. The consequences for the West of such a course, though, is potentially inferior and or more expensive product for the consumer, or simply a lack of supply, impeding the West transition and productivity. Clearly, for China and the global outlook, it is not only the capacity and intent to invest that matters, but also the evolution of politics. We'll see you next time.